Overview of endocrinology. Welcome to today's lecture on endocrinology. In this session, we'll explore the anatomy and physiology of the endocrine system, which is responsible for regulating many of our body's processes through hormones. The endocrine system plays a huge role in maintaining balance, also known as homeostasis, by controlling things like growth, metabolism, and mood. Let's break it down step by step. What is endocrinology? Endocrinology is the study of hormones and the glands that produce them. Hormones are chemical messengers that travel through the bloodstream to target organs and tissues where they help regulate a wide range of bodily functions. Unlike the nervous system, which uses electrical signals for quick responses, the endocrine system works through slower but longer-lasting hormonal signals. Now, let's take a look at the key organs and glands of the endocrine system. Think of the endocrine system as a network of glands that secrete hormones directly into the bloodstream. Here are the main glands. Hypothalamus. Located in the brain, the hypothalamus is the control center. It produces hormones that regulate the release of hormones from the pituitary gland. The hypothalamus essentially tells the pituitary gland what to do. Pituitary gland, known as the master gland, it sits just below the hypothalamus and releases several important hormones that control other endocrine glands, including the thyroid, adrenal glands, and gonads. Thyroid gland, located in the neck, the thyroid produces thyroid hormones, T3 and T4, that regulate metabolism, how fast or slow your body's processes are. Parathyroid glands. These small glands are located behind the thyroid and are responsible for regulating calcium levels in the body. Adrenal glands. These sit on top of the kidneys and produce hormones like cortisol, stress response, and adrenaline, fight or flight response, as well as aldosterone, which helps regulate salt and water balance. Pancreas. Located behind the stomach, the pancreas has both endocrine and exocrine functions. It produces insulin and glucagon, hormones that regulate blood sugar levels. Ovaries and testes. These are the primary sex glands. The ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone, while the testes produce testosterone. These hormones regulate reproduction and secondary sexual characteristics. Each of these glands plays a specific role in maintaining bodily functions, and together they keep everything in balance. How hormones work. The basics of hormonal signaling. Now, let's talk about how hormones actually work. The process of hormonal signaling is a bit like sending a letter through the mail. Here's how it works. Production. The endocrine glands produce hormones. Release. These hormones are released into the bloodstream, where they travel to specific target organs. Binding. Hormones bind to specific receptors on the target cells, like a lock and key. This binding triggers a response within the cell, leading to a physiological change. Effect. Depending on the hormone, this could mean increasing metabolism, stimulating growth, regulating sleep cycles, or other functions. One key point to remember is that hormones work in feedback loops. This means the body carefully controls hormone levels, increasing or decreasing production as needed. It's a balancing act that keeps everything running smoothly. Let's look at the different types of hormones in the body, which can be grouped based on their structure. Peptide hormones. These are made from chains of amino acids. Examples include insulin, growth hormone, and oxytocin. They bind to receptors on the cell surface and often activate second messengers inside the cell. Steroid hormones. These are derived from cholesterol. Examples include cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone. Steroid hormones can pass through cell membranes and bind to receptors inside the cell to directly influence gene expression. Amino acid-derived hormones. These are derived from single amino acids. Examples include thyroid hormones, T3 and T4, and catecholamines like adrenaline. They can act similarly to peptide hormones or steroid hormones, depending on their structure. As we mentioned earlier, hormones are regulated by feedback mechanisms. There are two types of feedback loops. Negative feedback. This is the most common type of feedback. When hormone levels rise too high, the body signals the glands to stop producing that hormone. For example, when blood sugar levels are high, the pancreas releases insulin to lower them. As blood sugar drops, insulin secretion decreases. Positive feedback. This is less common, but still important. In positive feedback, an initial stimulus leads to a response that amplifies the effect. A good example is the release of oxytocin during childbirth. Oxytocin causes uterine contractions, which then stimulate the release of more oxytocin, intensifying the contractions until delivery is complete. Let's focus on some of the key hormones and their functions in the body. Insulin. Secreted by the pancreas, insulin helps lower blood sugar by facilitating the uptake of glucose into cells. Thyroid hormones, T3 and T4. Produced by the thyroid, these hormones regulate metabolism. If thyroid hormone levels are too low, you may experience fatigue and weight gain. Too high, and you may feel hyperactive and lose weight. Cortisol, released by the adrenal glands, cortisol helps the body respond to stress. It increases blood sugar levels, enhances metabolism, and has anti-inflammatory effects. Estrogen and progesterone. These hormones regulate the female reproductive system, influencing the menstrual cycle, pregnancy, and secondary sexual characteristics. Testosterone, produced by the testes, testosterone is responsible for male sexual characteristics, such as muscle mass, voice deepening, and sperm production. Let's briefly discuss a few common endocrine disorders. Diabetes. Mellitus, a condition where the body either doesn't produce enough insulin, type 1, or becomes resistant to insulin, type 2, leading to high blood sugar levels. Hypothyroidism, a condition where the thyroid doesn't produce enough thyroid hormone, leading to symptoms like fatigue, weight gain, and depression. Hyperthyroidism. When the thyroid produces too much hormone, leading to symptoms like weight loss, anxiety, and increased heart rate. Cushing's syndrome. Caused by high levels of cortisol, it leads to weight gain, high blood pressure, and skin thinning. Polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. A condition where elevated levels of androgens, male hormones, cause irregular periods and cysts on the ovaries. To summarize, the endocrine system is a network of glands that produce hormones to regulate key functions like metabolism, growth, reproduction, and stress responses. Hormones are chemical messengers that work in a coordinated way to keep the body in balance. By understanding the glands, the hormones they produce, and how these hormones affect the body, we can better understand health conditions and how to treat them.